Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome into this day with Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Welcome, all who seek renewal in a weary world. Welcome, all who come with love and energy to share. Welcome to those who worry for the future. Welcome, each one who is grateful for today. Know that in this place you are not alone. In community, we share our strength with one another, and we keep the flame of loving burning bright. Know that in this place, responsibility is shared. Here, tradition holds us. Ancestors shine a light from the past. Here, the young lift their bright faces and beckon us onward. Take my hand, and we can go on together. My name is Peg Hunter, and I'm a member of the board here at QUUF. As we gather, I acknowledge that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territory of the S'Klallam and Chemakum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain their homelands. If you are visiting today, I offer a special welcome and invite you to join us for refreshments and conversation in the fellowship hall after the service. We have a newcomers table near the patio doors where our greeters are ready to answer any questions you might have. Welcome to you all this morning. We're so glad you're here. I have a few announcements. The Also team for QUUF's Growth and Learning Program is receiving proposals for fall classes, events, and field trips. The deadline for proposals is August 1st. Ooh, pretty soon. So bring your ideas to the team. You can contact the team at also@quuuf.org or contact Paul Lubert. Links for proposal submission are also listed in the weekly update. We are in the beginning stages of getting our photo directory updated. Yeah, I know some of us are not too recognizable from the last time we had our pictures taken. Today, after the service, please step up to have your photo taken. It will be set up outside on the patio. Not your photo, but the opportunity. See the weekly update for additional dates, both on Sundays and during the week. Dances of Universal Peace will be gathering this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Join with others in this joyful, interactive, singing spiritual practice. See John Galm if you want more information. And John, I see you in the audience. There he is. Let us settle our minds now and calm our hearts.
Wow. That was beautiful. What a lovely way to start our worship service today. Our opening words are by Jo Von Roo and Lynette Lowe. Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace, where we come not only to create our best selves, but to also do the work of creating a beloved community. We come here today together as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes and sizes and colors, all of which are broken with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. And while our pieces may not always fit neatly together, there's an understatement, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our values, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and beauty you find in one another create peace in this space and fill our hearts with love as we create worship together. It is so good to be together today. Will you join me in saying the words for lighting our chalice? Flame of our faith, call us into the community of love and justice in morning and every morning. And seeing that we do not have children that we would be singing out, let us go ahead and sing together. Our opening hymn is number 1 in the gray hymnal, May Nothing Evil. If you want the gray hymnal, you can get it, and the words will be projected here.
May nothing evil cross this floor, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. My faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This month, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Hi, I'm Katie Franco. This is the offering. We pause for a time of generosity and to receive an offering to support the life and ministry of QUUF. The ushers will come among you to receive the offering, and additional ways for giving will be projected. Please join me in our offering words. This fellowship is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
We pause each week to hear about the joys and sorrows of our lives. And we begin by placing a stone about something that's big in the world. And this week, we place a stone to remember Bernice Johnson Reagan, the founder of Sweet Honey in the Rock, who died this week. She was an activist, a musician, fierce in love and seeking justice, who is now among the ancestors. But her legacy of beauty and the justice that she helped create and continues to in her music will endure. And we had no joys or sorrows shared by the congregation. So we'll place one more stone, these for the joys and sorrows that we bear quietly within. Let's pause now for a few moments of quiet and reflection for meditation or prayer, as is most your custom. Spirit of love and life, we lift up our hearts in joy this day. Joy that we are here, that we awoke this morning, that our breath in and out sustains us. We lift up our hearts in joy for the community that surrounds us, our family, our beloved friends, this gathering, all the various places where our lives touch another with love and care. We lift up our hearts in joy for the grace of the natural world, clouds covering, holding us close, the beauty of forest and field, the pleasure of water and beaches, the delight even in rain and snow, in heat. How blessed are we to be in this world. And for those places of heartbreak and difficulty, we also lift our voices, acknowledge that it is a part of our lives. We hold all those places of pain, of loss, those places of loneliness in our hearts as well. Yin and yang, woven fine. Let us pause for just a few moments of stillness together. So may it be.
This is a reading from You Can't Be Neutral on a Moving Train by Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It's based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act and to at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory.
And our second reading, taken from an essay that Rebecca Solnit posted on Facebook. This is not an argument against fear. It's an argument for clarity about what's a feeling and what's a fact, and a contemplation of how our words shape our world. I've been saying for the last few years, in regard to the climate, I respect despair as an emotion, but don't confuse it with an analysis. You can feel fear, despair, sorrow, anxiety without surrender. History is full of countless people who persevered under the grimmest circumstances, often with heavy hearts and no victory visible on the horizon, or success a wild unlikelihood. Sometimes they lost, but the only ones who won were the ones who stuck with it or who benefited from someone else doing the work. Here I'm arguing for what my friend Roshi Joan Halifax calls wise hope, not foolish optimism. There are times when an honest assessment of this will not work is the beginning of turning toward what possibly will. On the other hand, in my years on earth, I've seen things declared impossible or unimaginable come to pass. Notably, the fall of the Soviet satellite states in 1989. I don't think that even most of the people who toppled those regimes believed they could and would until they did. There ends our readings for the morning. I want to say thank you again for that music. A little tilt of the head at the end. Girl, you did it. That was really good. Thank you. I want to start today with a couple of fun facts. On the printed order of service today, Holly, our office assistant who creates them every week and who usually selects a quote, she put that quote from Abraham Lincoln there, excerpted from the Gettysburg Address. We all know that one, right? We could say all of that. He says here, highly resolved that the dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. It's a great quote. What most folks don't know about that, though, is that part, that of the people, by the people, for the people. Anybody know what I'm going to say? Good. I love having fun facts. What most folks don't know, that phrase was actually coined and spoken into the world 3 years earlier at an anti-slavery convention by Unitarian minister Theodore Parker. When he said it, he included the word all, of all the people, for all the people, by all the people. And I think we need to reinstate that so that we keep remembering that it's everybody, right? How it wound up with Lincoln is probably through one of his assistants or one of the folks who worked with him who was actually attended some of Theodore Parker's services in Boston. And I can't bring up Parker without also mentioning the other quote from his work that is widely known. Anyone know what that one is? Ooh, this is fun. The phrase, well, not the phrase. So what Parker wrote way back when was, I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure that it bends towards justice. Yeah. We're familiar with this from Martin Luther King, from his much more elegant paraphrase, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. So a third fun fact that ties this together is that in 2010, a new rug was commissioned for the Oval Office, and one of the features of this new rug was that it included 5 quotations, and both of these are on it. Well, the community of people who know these fun facts is pretty dang small, and it clearly has grown a little today. I like that. I'm often cheered up a bit to know that we as Unitarian Universalists are in a very real way part of the stream of history that brought those ideas to articulation. It is woven into our identity as Unitarian Universalists. Fun facts for the day. I was moved to take on our topic for today because it has occupied an enormous amount of my listening to the news and thinking about the future. I suspect this room is as full as it is because that's true for you too. It's a hard to avoid topic, whether or not democracy as we know it will survive this next presidential term. And even if it does survive, how we'll have to work to keep it safeguarded in the future. I can't imagine any of you who have had any contact with the news over the last month or so haven't been feeling varying degrees of anxiety about the future of democracy as well. It feels like that image of democracy, the one both Lincoln and King streamlined, the one that Lincoln cribbed and the one that King streamlined into eloquence, That democracy is under a threat unlike any I have seen in my lifetime. Can I get an amen, friends? Amen. Yeah, you're feeling it too. It takes a strong will to not devolve into catastrophizing, into that fear that we will be living under a fascist regime in merely months. Terrifying. I'll note that there are rules about talking about politics in church. You all know this, I suppose, because of the separation of church and state. We preachers need to take some care about what we say when we start talking about things like elections, especially. Our tax status comes with a prohibition of delving into supporting candidates or directing people on how to vote. But we're always on safe ground when we talk about issues. That said, there is a story told of a minister from the 1960s when he preached his election sermon. It's a custom in New England that you preach right before the election, and you ministers often have carried that on. Anyhow, he preached a sermon, and as one man left the congregation, he said to this colleague, "How dare you, when you said, 'Let the best man win,' you clearly were not speaking about Mr. Nixon." Well, you know, whatever intuition you have about who I might be speaking about, just go with it. I've started listening to Ari Berman's book, The Right-Wing Attack on the Will of the People and the Fight to Resist It, and was surprised to learn that we here in the US have been fighting about what free and fair elections are in one way or another since the very beginning. He describes the meeting in 1787 when the delegates from the colonies gathered to write the Constitution that would replace the Articles of Confederation. The first session was opened by the 34-year-old governor of Virginia, Edmund Randolph. Sitting in the room with him that day were all of the luminaries of that revolutionary time: Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, James Madison, just to name a few. Randolph, who oversaw the largest and most powerful colony, in his opening statement said, "Our chief danger arises from the democratic parts of our constitutions," meaning the state constitutions. All the states had constitutions at that time. "Our chief danger arises from the democratic parts of our constitutions. It is a maxim which I hold incontrovertible that the powers of the government exercised by the people swallows up the other branches. None of the constitutions of the colonies have provided sufficient checks against the democracy." He was clear, very clear, that the design of the government needed to, quote, "restrain the possible fury of the democracy." So the Constitution wound up was designed to both empower citizens and to place the direct power of governmental decision into the hands of a Congress that had both equal representation and proportional representation. You know, I'll say that from the founding until quite recently, that system, or since the founding until today, that system has been imperfect and abused by special interests, most particularly of late by men with lots of money, white men with lots of money. There has never been a golden age of democracy in this country, I don't think, when we lived up to the high ideals and promises that our best visions of ourselves claim. And as I am not a history buff, though I live with one, so he's able to confirm or correct my perceptions of how things have been in the past. That said, in my read of history and my looking around the world today, I don't believe that we have been in as much peril as we are right now approaching this election since the Civil War. The level of manipulation of our systems of government, from voter suppression and gerrymandering to gaming the appointments to the Supreme Court, to the impact of dark money and utterly obvious bribery. Sweet Jesus, friends. All of this has been deeply strategic and has created an imbalance in power that may end government of all the people, by all the people, for all the people. The Republic, if we can keep it, as Ben Franklin put it, is under attack. And it is an attack that has been slow rolling since the 1990s. 30 years of well-funded and very strategic action from the state level to the Supreme Court has brought us to this place. This may well be the most consequential election of my lifetime and of yours. But let's breathe. Let's breathe. John Kabat-Zinn reminds us to be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. Rebecca Solnit aligns with him. She says, "On the other hand, in my years on earth, I've seen things declared impossible or unimaginable come to pass. Notably, for her, the fall of the Soviet satellite states in 1989. I don't think even most of the people who toppled those regimes believed they could and would until they did." And I have a picture in my mind, as I'm saying this morning, I have a picture in my mind of Nelson Mandela walking free. The Sunday after the 2016 election, I told the congregation that I served then that the work that we're called to do in the world does not change. But the circumstances at that time had changed, and that we were being called into a very different kind of engagement. Depending on the outcome, we could be living in a very different world that demands us to do much more to protect the vulnerable, to reclaim our democracy if we can, and to keep building that world we dream. Back in the 1980s, way back when we were so fearful that nuclear war was going to happen because of the tension between the Soviet Union and the United States. Back then, I heard a story that keeps floating back to me, keeps coming back to me. A teacher in an elementary school asked her class if there were any of them that were afraid that there might be a nuclear attack. All the children, save one, raised their hands. Surprised by this, the teacher asked the one child why their hand was down. And the kid said, "Because my dad goes to meetings. He's going to make this better." The antidote to fear and possible disaster is action. There are 3.5 months left until the election. We are not powerless, friends. The reason that there has been so much manipulation of our political system is because we are, in fact, powerful. The visions that enliven our hearts, a country where we continue to strive to be something closer, living closer, more closely into equality, where we offer care to the lost and vulnerable, where everyone contributes to the common good in fair proportion, thank you very much, and where we work together to save the planet from climate catastrophe. All of those are more broadly shared than the visions that are fueling the manipulations and gaming of our political system. So I say to you today, friends, make a plan for how you're going to save our democracy. You can show up here in this building for postcard and letter writing on next week on August 25th. We did not coordinate. This would have been a great day to write. But next week you can be here and write. The vote letter writing, that has letters that are already prepared that you add some notes to, and they're sent to voters in suppressed states. Postcard writing, that's next Monday, right? In RE2 in the middle of the day. Find a way. You can phone bank. You can text bank. I mean, you don't even have to talk to people. You can text them. There are ways to do it. If you can't do that, give money to candidates. Offer to doorbell or make phone calls. For goodness sakes, just talk to people about what's coming. Tell them what's in your heart, especially the vision that you're wanting us to live into. Peace and plenty, safety, caring for each other. Our neighbors down the street, across the country, and over the wide world need us, friends. And don't forget to pay attention to the rest of the world. Poet Nikita Gill reminds us, everything is on fire, but everyone I love is doing beautiful things and trying to make life worth living. And I know that I don't have to believe in everything, but I believe in that. Everyone I love is doing beautiful things and trying to make life worth living. I believe in that. Those two quotations that I started with, that one from Theodore Parker, the one that reminds us that the hope of the country and our democracy is to be for all, of and for all the people, for all the people, by all the people, of all the people. And that other one, the one that envisions the moral arc of the universe bending towards justice, those two statements woven into that rug in that place of power and possibility. Those two can be the guide for us through this dangerous time, calling us to act to make the world we imagine a world that is embodied. We are here with each other. We can do amazing things. Let us make it so. Amen. And let us start by singing together. Come and go with me. Woo! Let's rock it, friends.
There'll be freedom in that land, there'll be freedom.
Please be seated. They're having fun back there. I'm not sure that's allowed. Honestly, yeah, you know, it's not allowed. It's encouraged. So I managed to forget my closing words. I'll just say, friends, the world is beautiful and frightening, yet we are here together. We have power that we don't realize. Let us take it up as best we can and work to make the world we dream a world come real. So may it be. Amen. Will you join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice? We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.